Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles. You ever have one of those moments where your entire world shifts in an instant? Like everything you thought you knew, everything you believed in, just crumbles beneath your feet? That was me, standing in the hallway, gripping a half-full glass of water so tightly that I thought it might shatter in my hand. I wasn't supposed to hear it. I was just walking past the bedroom, our bedroom, on my way to the kitchen when I heard my wife's voice. Soft, intimate. Not for me. I don't even want to hug him anymore. She laughed. That sound. That cruel, detached chuckle that told me she'd already made up her mind about whatever or whoever she was talking about. I stopped dead in my tracks. She was on the phone, lying on our bed, her back to the door. Her legs were crossed at the ankles, swinging lazily in the air, like she didn't have a care in the world. I couldn't move. I just stood there, ears straining, heart pounding in my chest. Her voice dropped to a whisper, but I still caught every word. I know. It's just, I don't feel anything when he touches me. It's like I tolerate it. You know? It's not exciting. Silence. Then another soft, knowing laugh. Of course I want to. I just have to be careful. He's not stupid. I exhaled slowly through my nose, controlling the rage that was boiling inside me. The words weren't even the worst part. It was her tone. That casual indifference. That smug confidence. Like she wasn't just rejecting me. She was already moving past me. Like I was a joke. My hand clenched around the glass, and for a second, I wanted to march in there and demand answers. Who the hell was she talking to? What did she mean by be careful? But then something inside me went cold. Confrontation wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't undo what I'd just heard. No, I needed a different approach. She didn't want to hug me anymore? Fine. She wouldn't have to. She didn't feel anything when I touched her? Perfect. Because starting today, she'd never feel my touch again. She thought I was some clueless fool. A predictable man who would either lash out in anger or crumble into pathetic pleas for her affection. She had no idea what I was capable of. So I did something I never thought I would. I turned around, walked back down the hall, set my glass of water on the counter, and I let her words settle in my mind like a slow-spreading poison. From that moment forward, my wife didn't exist to me. She wanted distance. She was about to find out what true, soul-crushing distance felt like. And when the time was right, she was going to regret ever taking me for granted. She just didn't know it yet. The beauty of silence is that it can be the sharpest weapon in the world. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just stopped. Stopped asking how her day was. Stopped reaching for her hand. Stopped making an effort. I became a ghost in my own home. And at first, she didn't even notice. The first couple of days, she was too wrapped up in her own little world. Texting, smiling at her phone, humming to herself as she got dressed for work. She probably thought I was just tired, distracted, or in one of those moods where men withdraw for no reason. Perfect. She didn't suspect a thing. At dinner, I would sit across from her, eating mechanically, not making small talk. She barely glanced up from her plate. At night, when she used to cuddle into my side, I rolled over, leaving a cold gulf between us. She didn't say a word. Not yet. It took a week before she finally started to notice. "Hey," she said one morning as I stood at the sink, rinsing out my coffee cup. "Are you okay?" I turned my head slightly, looked her dead in the eyes and smiled. Yeah, why wouldn't I be? It was a real smile, but not the kind she was used to. There was nothing warm about it. She blinked. "I don't know. You've been quiet." I shrugged. "Just been thinking about things." That was it. No further explanation. She hesitated, waiting for me to elaborate, but I didn't. I walked past her, grabbed my keys, and left for work. Let her wonder. Let her feel the uncertainty. The same uncertainty I had felt standing in that hallway. Hearing my wife say she didn't even want to touch me anymore. The little cuts begin. It was the small things that got to her first. She used to love movie nights. We'd curl up on the couch, share a blanket, and watch whatever she picked. So when she came home one Friday night and found me already watching something, without her, I saw the flicker of surprise on her face. "You started without me?" she asked. I nodded. "Didn't think you'd be interested." I didn't pause the movie, didn't scoot over. She stood there for a second, then sat at the far end of the couch, awkward and tense. Good. The next day, I got home late, later than usual. She was waiting. "Where were you?" she asked, leaning against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. I shrugged, setting my keys down. "Out." "With who?" "Just a couple of people." Her frown deepened. "People?" I met her gaze, my expression unreadable. "Yeah, people." Then I walked past her, leaving her with her own imagination. For the first time in a long time, I saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Worry, doubt. She wasn't used to being ignored. She was used to me caring, asking, fighting for her attention. But I wasn't playing that role anymore. She wanted me to be background noise in her life? Fine. She could try living in the silence. Her cracks begin to show. The real shift came 2 weeks in. By then, I wasn't just quiet. I was absent. Physically, I was there. But emotionally, mentally, I was gone. I moved around her like she was furniture, spoke in short, polite phrases, never initiated conversation. And slowly, she started to break. "Do you want to go out for dinner tonight?" she asked one evening, trying to sound casual. "Nah." She hesitated. "We could try that new place you were talking about last month." I glanced up at her. That was a test. She wanted to see if I still cared. If I would jump at the offer of a nice evening together, eager to get back into her good graces. I didn't. "I'm not really feeling it," I said. Then I went back to my book. The next morning, she touched my arm lightly as I was getting dressed. I flinched. Not dramatically, just enough. Enough for her to notice. Enough for her to feel the rejection that had been slowly seeping into our home. She pulled back as if burned. The first real fracture. She was starting to feel the weight of my absence. The beginning of her desperation. A few nights later, I heard her in the kitchen, aggressively wiping down the counters. A nervous habit. Then she did something unexpected. She grabbed a bottle of wine and 2 glasses, walked into the living room, and set them down on the coffee table. I glanced up from my phone. "What's that?" I asked. She gave me a hesitant smile. "Thought we could have a drink together." "We haven't in a while." She was trying to mend something she didn't even realize she had broken until it was too late. I stared at the wine, then at her. Then I stood up. "I'm heading to bed," I said, stretching. Her face dropped. Not dramatically, but enough. I saw the flash of disappointment. The panic quickly masked. I left her sitting there, alone, with 2 glasses of wine she would now have to drink by herself. And that's when I knew. She was starting to understand. Starting to feel it. The loneliness. The emptiness. The slow, suffocating realization that she wasn't special anymore. That her presence didn't excite me. That I could go entire days without thinking about her. And it was killing her. I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, listening to her softly shut the cabinet doors as she put the wine glasses away. For the first time in a long time, I slept soundly. Because this was only the beginning. It happened sooner than I thought. Her desperation had already started to show. Small cracks in her carefully curated indifference. A glance that lingered too long. A question she repeated because she wasn't really listening. Too lost in her own guilt. She wasn't used to feeling ignored. But she still didn't know that I knew. That changed 3 weeks after I overheard her talking about not wanting to hug me anymore. That was the night I confirmed the affair. The moment the truth hit me. She had been careful. I'll give her that. Late night texts? Deleted. Her phone? Always face down. Extra time at work? Subtle, spread out over months. But she wasn't careful enough. One night, I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, when I saw it. A notification popped up on her screen while she was in the bathroom. A single message preview. "Tonight was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you." The sender's name? Just the letter M. I stared at it. My heartbeat didn't even spike. I had already suspected. This was just confirmation. She came out of the bathroom, towel drying her hair, oblivious. She didn't see the phone light up. I didn't say a word, but something shifted in me. Up until that moment, I had been playing a slow game. Psychological withdrawal. Letting her feel the weight of her own choices. But now I had leverage. Now it was time to break her. The first real strike. The next morning I called in sick to work. She left for her office, blowing me a half-hearted kiss like everything was normal. I waited exactly 20 minutes before I opened my laptop and got to work. Step 1. Find out who M was. It didn't take long. A quick look at our phone bill showed a pattern. The same number over and over, late at night. Then I cross-checked her social media. It wasn't public, but people are sloppy. They like their routines. And just like that, I found him. Michael. A mid-level executive at some company she worked with. Handsome in a polished, fake kind of way. A guy who probably thought he was untouchable. I scrolled through his profile, staring at his carefully curated life. The expensive vacations, the tailored suits, the smug smile of a man who thought he was winning. I almost laughed. He had no idea that the game had already changed. The gathering of evidence. Over the next few days, I became a ghost and a hunter at the same time. I did what she didn't think I was capable of doing. I tracked their messages. I followed her once, keeping a safe distance as she worked late at a fancy hotel. I even placed a small GPS tracker under her car. Nothing illegal, just a simple Bluetooth device that let me see where she went. And the final piece? I hired a private investigator. Because I wasn't just going to expose them. I was going to obliterate them. It took less than a week for the PI to get me everything I needed. Photos, texts, even video footage of them entering and leaving the same hotel room. I had it all. And I could have confronted her right then. Could have thrown the evidence in her face. Watched her stammer and beg. Caught her in her own web of lies. But that would have been too easy. She had taken her time destroying our marriage. I was going to take my time destroying her. The trap is set. The night before I made my move, she did something unexpected. She sat next to me on the couch. Close, like she was trying to bridge the gap she had created. "Hey," she said softly, almost shyly. I looked at her, expression blank. "Yeah." She hesitated, then bit her lip. "I feel like we've been off lately." Off. She actually had the audacity to say that. "I guess," I replied, non-committal. She sighed. "I don't want us to drift apart." Drift apart? We were already miles apart, sweetheart. You just hadn't realized it yet. So I did something cruel. I smiled. Soft. Reassuring. The way I used to. And I said, "Neither do I." Her shoulders relaxed. She looked relieved. Like she had just won something. She thought she had me back. She had no idea that tomorrow would be the worst day of her life. The reveal. I waited until she was getting ready for bed before I struck. She was in the bathroom, brushing her teeth, when I placed the envelope on her pillow. Inside was everything. Every text. Every photo. Every screenshot. Every lie. She walked back into the room, humming softly, then froze. Her eyes darted to the envelope, then to me. "What's this?" she asked, her voice tight. I didn't answer. I just watched. She picked up the envelope. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Then she started flipping through the pictures. The texts. The undeniable proof of her betrayal. Her breathing became shallow. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Finally, she looked up at me, her face pale as death. "Where did you?" Her voice cracked. She didn't finish the sentence. She knew it didn't matter. I had caught her, and she was completely, utterly, helplessly screwed. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees, and let the silence drag out. Then I smiled. But it wasn't kind. It was the smile of a man who had already won. "You don't have to hug me anymore," I said, my voice calm, almost gentle. "You don't have to pretend. You're free now." She opened her mouth, maybe to deny, maybe to beg, but I held up a hand. "I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to ask why." I let the words sink in, Let her feel the weight of them. Because I don't care anymore. The final blow. The kill shot. She sucked in a sharp breath, eyes glistening. Her fingers tightening around the envelope like it could somehow protect her from the storm she had created. She had expected anger, a fight, maybe even desperate pleas. What she got instead was complete and total indifference. And that was what broke her. Because in that moment she knew. She had already lost me. Regret is a slow poison. It doesn't kill instantly. It lingers, festers. It spreads until it consumes everything. I knew the moment my wife saw the evidence, the moment her breath hitched, her fingers trembled, and her face drained of color. It had begun. The unraveling, the guilt, the slow, inevitable destruction of the life she thought she still had. And I was going to watch every second of it. The first signs of panic. She tried to play it off at first. I could see the gears turning in her head, trying to find an escape, a lie to cover her tracks. "Wait," she stammered, holding up the envelope like she could erase what was inside. "This isn't. You don't understand. It's not what it looks like." I laughed. A real, genuine laugh. She flinched at the sound. "Not what it looks like?" I repeated, shaking my head. "Come on. Don't insult both of us." Her mouth opened, then closed. She knew there was no way out of this. So she changed tactics. She softened her eyes, let her voice waver, like she was suddenly some helpless victim. "It was a mistake," she whispered. "I wasn't thinking. I never wanted to hurt you, I swear." I tilted my head, feigning curiosity. "How many times, then?" She froze. I let the silence stretch, make her sit in it. I could almost see her debating whether to lie. But she had to know that if I had all of this, I probably knew everything. Her lip trembled. "For months," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "For months." That number hit different. I already knew, but hearing it come from her lips, seeing the shame twist her expression, it made it real. I nodded slowly. "For months of mistakes. That's impressive." Her eyes were glassy now. "It wasn't like that." She tried again, stepping toward me, reaching for my hand. I stepped back. Just a small movement. But it was enough. Her entire body tensed. That was when it really hit her. I didn't care. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't begging. I wasn't trying to hold on to anything. And that was far more terrifying than any anger she expected from me. The cold shoulder that broke her. The next few days were a masterpiece in indifference. I didn't leave. I didn't argue. I didn't react. I just existed in the same space as her, cold, distant, untouchable. And she hated it. First, she kept trying to explain. Kept finding excuses to be near me, like we could somehow fix what she had already set on fire. She made my coffee in the morning. I poured it down the sink. She asked if I wanted dinner. I ordered takeout for one. She tried to sit beside me on the couch, acting like nothing had changed. I stood up and left the room. Each little rejection cut her deeper. She thought I would rage. She thought I would scream, call her names, demand answers. But I did none of that, because she wasn't worth the effort. And I made sure she felt that, the moment she truly broke. One night, about a week after the reveal, I heard her crying in the kitchen. Not the quiet, fake sobs meant to pull sympathy. No, this was real. I stayed in the living room, flipping through my phone, pretending I couldn't hear. She was breaking down. Right there, just a few feet away from me. And I did nothing. Then finally she snapped. She stormed into the living room, hair messy, eyes red, voice shaking with rage. "Are you seriously just going to ignore me forever?" she shouted, her hands clenched into fists. I slowly looked up, met her eyes, and smirked. Yes, one word. That was all it took. Her whole body tensed like I had physically hit her. "Why won't you just yell at me?" she demanded. "Why won't you fight? Get mad. Do something." I set my phone down, leaning forward. "You don't deserve my anger," I said, my voice calm, even. "You don't deserve my time. You're nothing to me." Tears welled in her eyes. "I was stupid," she whispered. "I thought." You thought I'd never leave, I finished for her. You thought I'd always be here, that no matter how many lies you told, how many nights you spent with him, I'd still be waiting like a fool. She swallowed hard, her breath shaky. I was wrong. I exhaled softly, shaking my head. Yes, you were. That was it. That was the moment she realized she had lost. Not just our marriage. Not just me. But herself. Watching the walls close in on her. I gave her 2 more weeks of silence. 2 weeks of her desperately trying to pull me back in. 2 weeks of her living in the wreckage she created. Then I made my final move. I packed my things. Not all of them, just the essentials. Just enough for her to see that I wasn't coming back. She came home that evening to find me zipping up my last bag. She froze in the doorway, eyes wide. Wait! I didn't stop. Where are you going? She asked, voice small. I didn't answer. She stepped closer, hands shaking. Can we talk? I picked up my bag, slung it over my shoulder, and finally, I looked at her, and I smiled. The same cold, indifferent smile I had given her the night I handed her the envelope. We already did. Then I walked past her. She didn't follow. She didn't try to stop me, because she knew there was nothing left to say. And as I stepped out that door, into a future without her, I felt nothing but satisfaction. She had wanted space. She had wanted excitement. She had wanted to be free of my touch. Now, she had everything she asked for. And it was the worst punishment I could have ever given her. Regret is a shadow that never leaves. It lingers in the quiet. It echoes in the spaces where love used to live. It suffocates the air, making every breath feel heavier than the last. And my ex-wife, was drowning in it. I made sure of that. The first taste of her new reality. I didn't just leave that night. I erased myself from her life, blocked her number, didn't respond to emails, didn't acknowledge mutual friends when they reached out on her behalf. I became a ghost, a man she once knew, a man she once had, and now, a man she could never have again. She had chosen her path, and I let her walk it alone. The public fallout. It didn't take long for the consequences to catch up with her. Her affair wasn't just exposed to me. I made sure everyone knew. Her family, her friends, her colleagues. I sent the evidence to Michael's wife, who wasted no time burning his world to the ground. Their little fantasy? Shattered. Michael's wife filed for divorce immediately, and from what I heard, she took everything she could. As for my ex, she quickly realized her affair partner wasn't interested in playing house with a woman who had nothing left to offer. They lasted 2 weeks after I left. Then suddenly he was gone too, and she was truly, completely alone. The final blow. Months passed. I had moved on. I got my own place. A fresh start. New routines. New peace. A life that was mine and mine alone. Then one evening I got a message. From her. She had found a way to reach me. I stared at my phone, reading the words over and over again. Can we talk? Please. I just need to see you. I almost laughed. It was so predictable. She had played her game, and she had lost. She had traded a good man for a cheap thrill. And now she wanted to undo it, to rewrite the past, to salvage the wreckage. But the thing about bridges, once they're burned, they don't come back. I didn't respond. I didn't even type a single letter. I simply blocked the number, let her sit in her regret, let her live with her choices, because I had already won, and she would spend the rest of her life knowing it. The final thought. People say revenge is best served cold. But this was better than revenge. This was justice. She had gambled everything and lost. And the worst part? She had no one to blame but herself. And me? I walked away without a single scratch. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.